Commodus inherited an empire, a philosophy, and his father's private journal on self-mastery. Within a year he was a tyrant. Marcus Aurelius had spent 2 decades ruling through plague and war on the same rule. Don't let externals control you. Master what's yours alone. His son had every page of it. He chose spectacle instead. The question haunts history. When the greatest teacher hands enlightenment to his heir, why does the student become a monster? Commodus was born the 5th child of Marcus Aurelius and Faustina the Younger. Marcus adored him. He inscribed the boy's name in his personal philosophical notes. From childhood, Commodus had access to the Stoic framework that had sustained his father through plague, war, and the weight of imperial rule. He didn't lack instruction. He lacked hunger. Marcus ruled through crisis. The Antonine Plague killed 5 million across the empire. Marcus didn't retreat to comfort. His Meditations records the choice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Every moral choice became a practice. Every constraint, a test. Commodus watched. He had every advantage. He had none of the pressures that forged his father's character. Marcus never wanted his son to suffer as he had suffered. That mercy became the boy's ruin. By 180, when Commodus took the throne at 18, the philosophy was waiting. The power was waiting. The empire was waiting. What nobody could hand him was the habit of discipline. Here's what seems obvious. Virtue is a skill. Skills transfer. A master blacksmith teaches his son the hammer. A general teaches his successor strategy. Why not a philosopher king and his son? Because virtue isn't a skill, it's a daily choice. Commodus learned Stoicism intellectually. He could recite Meditations. He could discuss duty, control, the indifference of externals. But Marcus's Stoicism wasn't in the words. It was in the sacrifice. It was the choice to sit in a cold tent on the Danube frontier while plague raged and generals whispered that the throne could be his escape. It was the daily renewal of I choose discipline over pleasure, duty over comfort. Commodus faced none of that friction. The empire was at peace after Marcus's campaigns. The Senate deferred to him. He had wealth, admiration, the full apparatus of power without its crushing weight. Within months, he'd abandoned the Meditations. He demanded to be called Hercules. He took a mistress, then another. He forced the Senate to make concessions, spent the imperial treasury on gladiator combats where he fought to mock deaths. He wasn't rebelling against Stoicism. He was simply choosing not to practice it. Plutarch records the shift in his contemporaries' shock. One moment, the heir to Marcus Aurelius. The next, a tyrant consumed by vanity and blood sport. The philosophers of Rome watched in horror. The empire watched in fear. But here's the darker lesson. Marcus had the one tool Stoicism claims solves everything: control over his own mind. He couldn't control his sons. What would Marcus tell his son if he could speak from the grave? The Stoics had an answer for this. Epictetus, born into slavery, taught that virtue comes from prohairesis, choice, will, the constant renewal of your commitment, not a moment of enlightenment, 1,000 moments of saying no to the easy path. Marcus understood this. His journals return obsessively to the same truth. Each day you wake up, you choose again. You cannot inherit discipline. You cannot inherit virtue. Your father's example shows you the path, but you walk it yourself every day, or you betray it entirely. Seneca, writing to his student Lucilius, captured the tragedy. A teacher can show you the gymnasium. He cannot run the race for you. Commodus had the greatest gymnasium in the world. He refused to enter it. By 192 AD, Commodus had bankrupted the state, murdered senators, and declared himself a god. A conspirator, his own mistress Marcia, poisoned him. He died screaming, alone, with no heir. The dynasty fractured, the empire destabilized. One man's refusal to choose discipline collapsed Rome's most stable period in a century. The lesson cuts deeper than father and son. It's about the nature of philosophy itself. You inherit money, titles, advantages. You don't inherit virtue. Walk into any family business where the founder built something through relentless discipline, and you'll see Commodus. The second generation has every tool, capital, reputation, systems. They have none of the hunger. They assume competence transfers like property. It doesn't. Or consider education. A student sits in a lecture hall hearing the same truths that transformed their professor. They take notes, they nod, they forget. The professor had to survive ideas, had to test them against doubt, failure, real stakes. The student receives them as information. The Stoic move isn't to give people more advantages. It's to ask, what will you sacrifice to choose discipline today, not in your inheritance, in your decision? Marcus couldn't hand Commodus virtue. He could only offer the example and the framework. Commodus saw both and chose entertainment instead. That wasn't the failure of Stoicism. That was Stoicism working perfectly, showing Commodus his own will and watching him reject it. You have the same choice, daily, not inherited, chosen. Because the question haunts us still. Will you master what's yours to master? Commodus teaches us that enlightenment isn't inherited, it's renewed. Every day you wake up and choose discipline, or you betray it. Marcus understood this, his son didn't. Next week we're examining Seneca's paradox of wealth and virtue, how the richest Stoic in Rome used money as a tool for freedom, not chains. That's episode 3. If this landed, subscribe. The next episode goes deeper into the same territory.